Hey guys, Tom with Elevation every weekend here. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video on my test table, I have the brand new Wren Perseverance Adventure Bars. If you've been following my channel at all in recent months, you will know that I have been doing a number of videos on adventure bars featuring the Surly Moloko bar and the Surly Corner bar and the Aero customization I did on that setup. A couple months back when I saw Wren announce these bars here, I was immediately intrigued. Having the experiences I've had with those other bars and being big fans of them, I did see this Wren Perseverance bar as potentially as a bar set that could really fill the gap in between those other bars and potentially combine some of the best features of the other two sets of bars into this one set and possibly even have some other benefits. So as soon as I could, I did pre-order a set of these bars, so I did pay for these bars myself and they did just arrive, so I'm excited to get them on the bike and give them a go. So in this video, I'm going to give you a rundown of the basic specs of these bars. I'm going to give you my first look impressions of the build quality. I'm going to get them on the bike and I'm going to give you some first ride impressions. And as always, I will link to my other videos in the description down below, and we'll provide a link to these bars on the Wren website if you wanted to purchase them. They're currently going for $149, which I feel is a pretty good value. And because I did pre-order the bars, I did get the bar tape for free. They included it, but you can buy this as an upgrade accessory on the website as well. So I haven't decided just yet if I'll use this on these bars in the future, but for now I'm going to run them raw and just give them a really good test in that format. So before I get into the bike I'm going to put them on and the intended use, I just want to give some of these specs real quick, which of course you can also find on the Wren website. So these bars are 6061 aluminum. They weigh 754 grams, which is about 1.6 pounds. They have a nice wide width of 780 millimeters. The rise from the stem to here is about 25 millimeter, and the sweep back from the stem is 16 degrees, so you can kind of see that there. And the clamp size is 31.8 millimeters, so standard mountain bike size clamp. So speaking of clamp size and the stem, I also purchased one of Wren's lightweight aluminum stems to go with these bars. If I remember correctly, this one's 70 millimeters long with a 7-degree rise. So I've been wanting to try these anyways, and I figured this would be a good opportunity. As far as the build construction of the bars themselves, I'm really impressed with what I'm seeing and feeling so far. They definitely really are in a really slick design, really nice shape and curves. As someone that does have extensive experience welding, I can tell you that the welds look outstanding on these. And one of the first things I noticed on these is the wall thickness of the tubing. Just for perspective, I have an older set of Salsa aluminum bars here. You can see the wall thickness on that right there. It's about 50 thousandths. The wall thickness on these Perseverance bars is considerably thicker. You can see that clearly right there. It's about 175 thousandths. It's over 3 times the wall thickness of those Salsa bars. Now you can look at this two ways. Some people might wish they actually went with the thinner wall to cut weight, but these really aren't the kind of bars you're going to be putting on your weight weenie full carbon race bike. These bars are definitely designed for adventure riding, so you definitely want to have strength and durability in mind. That said, I am glad they are aluminum in construction instead of steel like the Surly bars, because despite the much thicker wall thickness and much more stout build quality, they only weigh slightly more than the Surly bars, which both come in at about 1.5 pounds. And as far as the color goes, it's kind of a gold bronze, and I actually think it's a really cool color. Definitely different than what the norm is, which is usually just black bars. And if you do happen to be someone that's not a fan of the color, just keep in mind, once you get your grips on, get your stem, do some sort of bar tape around the hoop, you're not really going to see a whole lot of that bronze color if it is an issue for you. I actually really like the look of these thus far, so I'm going to run them raw with just some grips and see how it goes. So as far as my application for these bars, I am going to mount them up on my Surly ice cream truck to start. So one of the things I am going to add to these bars right off the bat, and this is kind of based on my experience running the corner bar with the full Aero bar setup, is I did have a spare set of Aero bars lying around, so I did take the arm cups off and I did want to mount these up right about here and give that a try to utilize it with the Aero position on the hoop. So I'm going to go ahead and get these mounted up on the bike. I'm going to spare you that process. If you wanted to see how you mounted bars, I have other videos on that, or you can certainly find it in other videos on YouTube. So next time you see this bike, it's going to have the Perseverance bars mounted up and ready to roll, and we're going to get it out and ride it and start getting some impressions. Okay guys, the bars are mounted up and here are my first ride impressions. First, the bars do look great in my opinion. Everything installed on the bars easily, including my ESI grips with just some compressed air to help. One note, I did not add my ESI bar plugs, and that was because of the thicker tube walls, which makes the insert hole smaller. So I will have to trim down the plugs to fit, which is no big deal, but just a FYI on that. But I will say, because of the thicker wall, I don't feel there's quite the safety issue not having plugs that you would get having a thin wall tube bar. bar, which can be quite dangerous in a crash and can easily go right through you, which is really one of the main reasons why you always want to use bar plugs. Otherwise, I am really enjoying the feel of the bars. Riding in the traditional grip area, they have just enough slope back to take a little pressure off my wrist that I sometimes get with traditional flat bars, especially after about 20 or 30 minutes of riding. However, that slope back is not so drastic that it greatly diminishes the leverage of the bars to navigate technical terrain. And I generally prefer wider bars on my fat and mountain bikes, and these bars definitely fit the bill there. I will have to test these out some more, but my initial ride felt very responsive and gave me no pause about riding a more tech-oriented single track or aggressive trail. But I will definitely be getting it on some twisty, higher speed single track trail, and we'll definitely be getting into some more technical, low speed sections, like climbing in a rock garden, which is really how I frequently use this bike in the summer anyways. So let's talk about the part I'm most interested in, and that's the front hoop and my addition of the arm pads. So with all the miles and hours I have in the Aero position on my Salsa Bear Grease, and more recently on my full-on time trial bike, which is a Giant Trinity, it was very easy for me to transition to the Aero position on the ice cream truck with these Perseverance bars and the arm pads. I did mount them with a much wider elbow position than on my time trial bike, and it's fairly comparable to the elbow width I have on the Salsa, which makes things very comfortable, very stable, although it is a little less aero than the more aggressive, narrow elbow position. This setup feels really good and natural up top, and the arm pads are a good match for the hand position and height, and where I place the pads and at the angle I set the pads, it actually allowed me to let my arms mirror the same angle that the Aero bar hoop does. So again, with my elbows on the pads, my arms naturally flow right into the end of the hoop, and it feels really good. Now, with a 68-degree head tube angle and the geometry of the ice cream truck, it's not really ideal for the Aero position, especially since it's a rigid bike, but it does still work well overall. So it's even possible that these bars will be even better and more effective on other types of bikes, and in the future I may move them around a little bit and test them out elsewhere. But even on the ice cream truck, it is very comfortable and I can still pedal really well. I was actually able to carry probably the fastest speeds ever on this bike, aside from some steep descents I've done, and it felt really good and really safe in the Aero position. The huge front tire on the ice cream truck is extremely stable despite the geometry. One note is I did have to tilt my saddle down slightly to account for using the more forward Aero position, but it was a minor change and it didn't really impact how things felt riding in the traditional bar end position. And just to explain, as I've mentioned previously on my Salsa build, the benefits to the Aero bars for this application is not necessarily to maximize speed. It's really to provide a second hand and body position for longer touring type rides, and when it's really windy, it can make those conditions much more pleasant to ride in, or even possible in the most extreme cases. So whatever bike you do put these on, if you do choose to use the Aero position, it will also be fast and efficient if that is something you're looking for. So the Aero aspects aside, there are some other benefits to the hoop. It gives you a great place to mount things on it, such as lights, computers, action cameras, anything that you want mounted into that ideal frontal position. And lastly, the ability to mount stuff like a bag inside the area of the hoop is also great. And as Wren points out on their own website, having that third mounting point out front really makes for a much more stable mount than a bag just hanging and dangling off the front of your regular straight bars and flopping around. So thus far, it's safe to say I'm really enjoying these bars as a functional and aesthetically pleasing addition to the ice cream truck. The reason I consider them to be the Goldilocks of alt bars is because they kind of do everything well without some of the compromises that some of the other options have. And I will definitely update on them later in the summer riding season after I've spent more time with them and really tested them in more extreme conditions, and maybe even a few other bikes. So if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, leave those in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, please drop a like down below. And if you don't want to miss out on any updates on these bars and follow my many bike adventures going forward, please subscribe to the channel, as it really helps out and it lets YouTube know that people are finding value in my content. So thanks a lot and have a great day.